purposeful acts of individuals who have the bravery and the courage to cross those lines and dare to connect and find a sense of humanity in each other. Pastor Wardnott, thank you for allowing us once again to grace this pulpit. I want to recognize our Secretary, Ben Carson. I want to recognize, in his absence, our Lieutenant Governor Cagle and our Black Girl Magic Mayor, Keisha Lance Bottoms. And I want to thank God for the presence of our international guest, and especially Reverend Lee. At the church that he pastors, that was founded by David Young Cho, they have something called a prayer mountain. It's literally a space in a mountain carved out where people go to pray. I dare to believe it is because of their intention of establishing that mountain in South Korea that button hadn't been pushed, because the prayers of the righteous availeth much, and that one day those nations will be joined together as one, because we are one world, we are one people, we are one humanity, we are one destiny, and we are in fact one blood. For he, meaning God, has made from one blood all nations, for to dwell on the face of the earth. We are one. And so our collective voice in this hour must always be louder than the voice of one who may speak sometimes representing these United States, whose words sometimes do not reflect that legacy of my father, who was a patriot, but also a citizen of the world. In light of the current state of affairs, we must understand that our collective voice is more important now than ever before. We cannot allow the nations of the world to embrace the words that come from our president as a reflection of the true spirit of America. We are one people, one nation, one blood, one destiny, and as already been said, all of civilization and humanity originated from the soils of Africa. Now, I think you would agree that in light of the current state of affairs in this nation and in this world, we desperately need my father's voice, his teachings, and his love for humanity. Because he was a follower of Christ, we have to remember that my father listened to God's voice to face the injustices he countered. He was very studied, but he also adhered to God's guidance. For only God knows how to break power and change hearts. And that's what we have to do. The world needs to listen in this hour to the voice of God, to follow the teachings, I dare say, of Jesus Christ, and to demonstrate the love of Christ. That same love that the Dalai Lama demonstrates. That same love that Mahatma Gandhi demonstrated. That same love that Mother Teresa demonstrated. That same love that Martin Luther King Jr. demonstrates. The world needs, now more than ever, that love. If you will, in the book of Romans, the 8th chapter, you hear these words. The 19th verse. Let me go to the 18th. For I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. For the earnest expectation of the creation eagerly waits for the revealing of the sons of God. Another translation says, eagerly waits for the manifestation of the children of God. We are in a season now where the entire creation is earnestly waiting and expecting and groaning for the manifestation of the children of God. What do you mean, preacher? Well, the Bible tells us that God is love. His nature is love. His character is love. His way is love. And when we go through the scriptures, we discover that the greatest commandment that God left for us is steeped in love, to love God with all of our heart, with all of our mind, with all of our soul, with all of our strength, and to love our neighbor as ourselves. In this hour, now more than ever before, if we're going to tackle the enemies of justice, the enemies of righteousness, the enemies of peace, if we're going to tackle what my father called the triple evils of poverty, racism, and militarism, or in other words, if we are going to tackle what he called racism and we call xenophobia, if we're going to tackle poverty or materialism, if we're going to tackle war or militarism, we are going to have to tackle it in a different spirit, in a different nature, in a different way, in a different character. The man that we honor today, the man that we commemorate today, operated from another spirit. He was very learned, as I said earlier. He was very studied, as I said earlier. In fact, he studied some of the most famous theologians and philosophers of our time. And he developed a philosophy of nonviolence by extracting truths from each one of them, even in instances when he did not totally agree. Let me pause right there. It is important that we understand in this very hour that it is critical that we not allow ourselves to become more polarized and more divided because we don't all think alike, because we don't all even like each other. There is always, or most times, some truth in even those we may disagree with. We've been called in this season to bridge a divide. I may not 100% agree with you, but I have to open my heart and I have to open my mind to at least consider hearing you. Because in hearing you, I might hear something that I've never heard before, and I might learn something that I've never learned before. But more importantly, I will discover that you are no different different than I am, and that the only thing that separates us and divides us is a thing called sin. Now, I'm not just talking about bodily sin. I'm talking about sin, the very thing that separates us from God. Well, Bernice, what do you mean? What is it that separates us from God? Because that's the exact thing that separates us from each other. In my journey in life, I'm going to share something personally. I went through a phase where I literally hated all white people. And I especially hated white males, Father Frank. I love you, Father Frank. Let me make that clear. And God had to do something in my heart. Because that hate had the possibility of turning into bitterness and causing that seed to even turn inwardly toward myself and cause me to shut out the possibility of God bringing into my life good things. Hate separates. Hate divides. And so God began to bring examples into my life through white men. And there were simple things that began to happen. I was on, ironically, one of the evangelicals who supported Donald Trump. I was on a show that he was hosting back in 2000. His name is James Robeson. James Robeson was interviewing me, and we were talking about the loss of my father and the pain of my journey. In the middle of that conversation that was being recorded live for the camera, for the station, James Robeson paused and said, "Can I give you a hug?" He reached over, he hugged me, and it was one of the most genuine hugs that I'd ever received in my life. God was doing a work inside of my heart. But I want to say something, because I don't want you to believe that I'm saying that love ignores the absence of justice. What that did is it created the possibility for me now to have my heart open, not just to other people, but to continue to have my heart open to God. Because if anything, sin is separation from God. God is love, and God cannot exist where there is hate. And so we have to make sure that we cleanse our vessels of hate so that we can do the work of God in the spirit of love. Because you can rest assured that the strength, the courage, and the power that Dr. King drew from, and those in that movement, was the Spirit of God. And if there had been hate in those men and women's hearts as they were facing these evil forces of injustice, then we would not have witnessed the coming down of legalized segregation in the South. We would not have a Civil Rights Act. We would not have a Voting Rights Act. We would not have changed and transformed hearts. Ask Governor Wallace, who stood on the steps of that Capitol in Alabama and said, segregation today, segregation tomorrow, and segregation forever. But even George Wallace, years later, found himself standing before majority African American audiences, saying out of his earth and the whole creation is eagerly waiting for the manifestation of the sons and the daughters of God who know what it means to walk in the power of love in this hour, to bring down these injustices and the things that separate and divide us and destroy the years of institutionalized and systemic racism. Dr. King left us.